Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Stacking Stupid. Thank you so much for joining me again today, where we attempt to learn and educate and come up with creative solutions where we can stop stacking stupid. So, thank you guys. While I'm thinking about it, if you like this content, please subscribe, like, do all those things, comment below. And a lot of this stuff, at least right now, early in my musings, is there's definitely some strong correlation. I'm trying to create some foundational components of my vision and my philosophies and how I view things, and then tackle some bigger concepts too. And eventually, because I have a lot of solutions that I've thought of already, I'm not saying they're going to be perfect, but so cool. So today, I want to talk something really, really important to me, and I think it's important to, well, probably the world, but definitely the U.S., and it's definitely spiraling towards all the wrong ends, okay? So today's talk is going to be about healthcare and our healthcare system. I'm going to start by telling you a story. As I walk through this story, I'm going to attempt to be as factual as possible and remove as much bias. That's never 100% attainable, but I'm going to try and just tell you what I observed. And then later on, when I talk into what's working and what's more importantly what's not working, I might chime in a little bit of some of my opinions. But some key concepts to think about as I tell my story, because we're going to reflect back on it. But specifically, remember, one of my first videos was do better. So it's not, there's good things in what we're doing, and that's great. But when something is just completely dumb and stupid and heading for disaster, why would we keep doing it as a society? And then of course as an individual, because really the individual momentums add up to the macro movements of the society as a whole. All right, so here's my story. About 2 years ago, I do a lot of powerlifting and all sorts of stuff, anything athletic, and I have most of my life. So as I've gotten a little bit older, into my 30s and early 40s, I've just generated to the powerlifting stuff because I'm in the gym all the time to begin with, and I like it, and I guess generically we gravitate to things that we're good at. So if you're the strongest person in the room, you tend to do crazy feats of strength stuff. So I'm in the gym and I'm lifting, and I've got a little bit of injury in my left shoulder. And as I've gotten a little bit older, I've just tried very much to lift safely. So I'm lifting. For me, it's not an extreme amount of weight. What I'm lifting, it's my last set. And although most normal human beings would never be able to do it, but for me, it's not a lot of weight. Maybe like 365 on the bench. And getting to my last rep, I'm pushing up, and I feel this hot, literally shoots. And I go to my lifting spotter, I go grab it, he pulls it up, racks it. So I go home, and I've got a background in biology and some science, and just sports therapy in general. So I kind of work through and rest it and see if it gets better. Take a little bit of ibuprofen, ice it for the first couple days, 3 days-ish, and then I advance, and it's not getting better. I rest it, it's getting a little bit better, but not a lot better. So then I go and I schedule an appointment with my primary care physician. Now I go in, and I'm not a big fan of the doctor's offices in general. Like you walk in, and there doesn't seem to be great customer service. Oftentimes I observe, now granted, I come from owning a comic book store retail, where a big part of the presentation is that customer service. So maybe my standards are really high. So put that into the filter. But you come in, and there's 2 or 3 people behind the desk just talking about nonsensical BS, and you're just staring at them like, is anybody going to help me? Half the time you're there 10 minutes early, and then after you've been there for 25 minutes, they call you back. It's like, okay, well, why is my time not important? See previous time video. If we had an appointment at 1 o'clock, why are you not ready at 1 o'clock? And things happen, okay? But when you really look into it, what you see is that they're overbooking so they can make more money. They're running their appointments with 2 minutes in between, and that's not realistic, and it adds up over days. And they're expecting 2 people not to show up, and when that doesn't happen, they're behind at your expense. So anyway, back to the story. So I go to my primary care physician, and she goes, yeah, cool. You need to go see a specialist. Okay. Now, we don't think about this, but there was a charge for that. And whatever, say an office visit's $100, maybe it's $200. Okay, and it just comes out of my insurance, maybe a small copay. But the reality is, what did you actually do? Okay, so I get a referral. So I go to my referring physician, and now I'm talking to an ortho specialist. And they're like, oh, it could be a lot of things, but here's what we're gonna do. First, we're gonna get an X-ray. Okay, cool, I like that. So then I have to go. They don't have an X-ray machine on site, so I got to go to the hospital or whatever for me that's just close by to get an X-ray. Okay, so now I've been to my primary care physician, who just got paid to just say, go see somebody else. What did you do to deserve money? Then you go to this specialist who goes, well, I don't have any information. I mean, you could have went and got an X-ray first. But then I would have gotten paid my, $100 or $200. So I'm going to send you for an X-ray. So I go get an X-ray, come back. The X-ray looks clean because I didn't break a bone. But I knew I didn't break a bone. I mean, you can usually tell. It's one of those scenarios where if your bone structure isn't working correctly. So then I go on, and the next step is to get an MRI. And I go. Oh, this is relevant to the story. It's going to come up in a little bit. By this time, I'm getting a kind of like a cramp, a muscle spasm in my right bicep. Okay. So I go for an MRI, and once again go back to that hospital. So now I've been at the hospital twice, primary care physician once, and my doctor once, ortho specialist once. Go in for the MRI, and they're like, hey, I have it here that it's your right humerus. Your humerus, this bone right here. And I'm like, I don't know what the doctor ordered. I know what I did. I hurt my shoulder. Okay. I am having some complications in my bicep, but I hurt my shoulder. I know exactly what I did, and I told all of the doctors, anyone who will listen to me, exactly what hurt and how I did it. Okay. So I didn't fill out that request for an MRI. You need to talk to the doctor. But if the doctor says this, then they think this is what I need. Okay, so I get an MRI, and it comes back that my bicep is fine. So now the doctor says, so then I go back to my doctor again. Each one of these times, sitting in the waiting room, watching a bunch of people sit around doing nothing, waiting for 20 minutes, filling out the same dumb paperwork, which I don't understand why they couldn't hit print from file and have half that stuff auto-populated, okay, because they don't care about your time. Sorry, I'm getting a little non-biased, but from there I sit back down with my ortho, and he's like, well, sadly the next step isn't covered by insurance. We got to go to physical therapy. That's the next course of action. So I have now seen, well, I've got an X-ray, I've got an MRI, perhaps on the wrong spot, we're not sure, and I've gotten 2 visits with the ortho and 1 visit with my primary care physician. At this point, they have no clue what is wrong with my arm and shoulder. 0. So at this point, the insurance company will not authorize any other testing until I go to physical therapy. Okay, we're going to come back. That's a really important relationship. So then I go to my physical therapy. They submit and they go, okay, you've been approved for 12 visits. What does that mean? And I understand you can't just approve indefinitely, but like, is 12 visits enough? You don't even know what's wrong with me. And they're like, well, I don't know. We don't know what's wrong with you. Yeah, maybe we should figure that out. Oh, okay. So we start doing physical therapy, and I go 2 times a week for 6 weeks. And the young lady, I worked mostly with the same young lady, and she was really doing some good work, and my bicep was really loosening up pretty well. It was definitely getting better. So then the end of the 12 weeks come, and they go, well, your insurance ran out. And I go, well, why did my insurance run out if the injury is still there? How does that make sense? And I'm not saying, all right, maybe we need to resubmit or something like that, but like, the injury has not been fixed. What have you guys done to earn money over these 12 visits? I mean, it's gotten better, but it's not fixed. Okay, so at this point, it's feeling very functional. It's gotten a lot better. Still not perfect. Insurance is not validating any more visits because remember, from the insurance company standpoint, they don't even know what's wrong. Why would they approve 12 more visits? It's just them wasting money. They don't even know if it's going to help. Well, it helped a little bit. Yeah, but is it going to keep? They don't know what's wrong. Is it the right course of treatment? Who knows? Okay, so at this point, I go, look, there's nothing I can do in this physical therapy office that I can't do at home. In fact, and for anyone who's done physical therapy, it's one of the, I do think that it helps with the regimen helps and the structure helps. And there's a few things that you have to do there. And there's definitely a lot of knowledge in those, the PTs. But there's also a lot of just like, okay, I could have done 50, 60, 70% of this at home, stretching, whatever, and then came in, for the cream rub down, like, whatever. So fast forward. Might be about another, because that was like so many visits, 6 weeks of therapy, an MRI, x-rays, multiple doctor visits. So that was probably 6 months. I'm in the gym, working. And I don't know if there's a correlation, but I lost a lot of weight. And in losing the weight, my joints started hurting, which for anyone who doesn't know, it's kind of normal. When you're kind of ballooned up and you're heavy and you have a lot of fat, that fat is actually adding some support. So the bigger you are, the more natural support you have in your joint capsules and all that, because there's all this extra stuffing in there that's just helping everything stay on track. So then you lose all this weight, and now all of a sudden your joint's like, whoa, all that support is gone. So my shoulder really just started getting cranky, and like when I would lift, it would stay cranky for days afterwards. So pretty much my shoulder, if my doctor sees this, the doctor I'm talking about, not my bicep, my shoulder, is in a constant state of crankiness now. And I'm like, my general rule of thumb is, first off, we still don't know what's wrong. And second off, I don't know, because we don't know what's wrong, I don't know what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. And, what is my 10-year plan for how to deal with whatever happened? So go back to my primary care, another visit. They direct me back to the specialist, the ortho specialist, go back in. And I just flat out go, yeah, I want the arthrogram on my shoulder. That was the follow-up MRI. At this point, he's like, well, you did do the physical therapy. That was the last requirement, so the arthrogram. Now, this is maybe relevant. It's definitely relevant to me. It's part of the reason. I had maxed out my deductible for the year, so I knew everything I did between then and the end of the year was effectively free. It's not really free because the insurance company is paying for it. If the insurance company loses a lot of money, they're going to adjust the following year through their rates, which ultimately comes either your employer's paying it, which means you're paying for it, or you're paying for it, which means you're paying for it. So primary care, referral to the ortho, referral back to an MRI arthrogram. That's where because the shoulder's so jam-packed with stuff, they got to inject dye so they can see it. So I go in for that. Great. There's some complications with that. The one, I'm a big guy, so I like to go to the hospital one because they have an oversized. And of course, the insurance doesn't authorize that because they want to, go to a cheaper version. So they do these little, pop-ups, and they did a great job, by the way, Bethlehem MRI. So kudos to them. But they're these little specialized things that, know they can make a ton of money off of doing one MRI every 30 minutes, So some complications there, but eventually get scheduled, go in, do the arthrogram, go back to the ortho, okay? Ortho goes, oh yeah, your shoulder's all messed up. You got 3 things wrong, okay? The first is your labrum, soft connective tissue that holds your shoulder, the head of the humerus into the shoulder socket, has multiple injuries. It's probably, honestly, damage over time. It probably wasn't one point specific thing. But the whole thing looks messed up from what I'm seeing. It's like, oh, that ain't good. Secondly, I have a small rotator tear, barely noticeable. So he's like, I really wouldn't concern yourself with that. I almost missed it. I barely could see it. And the third thing is the long head of my bicep, which comes up and attaches on the top of the shoulder, is torn. Huh, that's interesting. So I've had a torn bicep on the shoulder side, and well, at least now we're finding out what's wrong. So his immediate recommendation is surgery. I actually liked his point, and he made some really good statements. I'll just try and summarize. He's like, look, this is what I do. Let me do my job. It's kind of what he said. Now, I'm kind of that weird pain in the butt type of guy. I'm like, I need more information, okay? I need to know the pro and con of the decision because in general, I know what I'm talking about. And in this scenario, there's 3 separate injuries. So maybe, in general, like the research I've done says labrum, absolutely get it, fixed. And I was okay with that. The rotator cuff, wasn't really worried about it. I have rotator damage on this one, don't care. But the big one was, it wasn't even the bicep, it's how they address it. They go, well, usually we cut it, and half the time that's it. They just cut it. And I'm like, okay, well, if it's 50% useful now, and you cut it, then I just lose that 50% that it was contributing. And even if the argument is, well, it was going to break eventually, yeah, but until it does break, on that whatever percentage, I'm more functional and better. So the retort was, yeah, but you would, the pain and discomfort would go away. And I get that, but for me, I'm way more function over pain. I don't care about the pain. We're old and I beat my body up pretty bad. So anyway, so now we're back to possibly scheduling surgery. All right, so let's review. Primary care physician, referral, ortho, okay, x-ray referral, okay, review of x-rays. In that one, I was referred for MRI. So we're at 5. Okay, MRI, follow-up from the MRI, 6. Okay, MRI doesn't show anything in the bicep. Not really sure why that was a thing. Then PT, okay, and then the PT is actually 12 visits. Okay, so I'm just going to count it as 1 because you sent me somewhere else. But it's, they charged me 12 times, and then after that, decide not to do anything with it. Fast forward, so we're currently at 7. Then we come back a year later. Primary care, 8. Back to ortho, 9. Back to the dyed MRI, 10. Okay. And then the follow-up, 11. And by the way, I actually have to go back to schedule the surgery. So 12, and then the surgery will be 13. So we've got 13, and then I'll be back into PT. But at least that's necessary because you know why you're going to PT at that point, because you had surgery on your shoulder. So I have 13 visits, 12 before the surgery. Why did it take 12 visits? And they didn't even figure out what was wrong until 11. I don't understand. Okay, so now I'm going to be super critical. I'm going to talk through some of the things that I think are absolutely not working. Okay, period. The first concept is the relationship between you and us and the insurance company, and then the hospitals. Whenever you create like this third payer, third party system of paying, it is extremely dangerous. And this is, I think, the biggest part that everybody is ignoring, because you're not seeing the direct cost of what you're doing. What you're seeing is maybe your copay, $20. So in your mind, I pay $20 to go to the PT office. That's not a big deal. I'm willing to pay that. That seems reasonable for an hour of their time. Great. That is not at all what really just happened. What really just happened was you haven't gotten a raise in 3 years because your healthcare costs have been skyrocketing. At like we went through, the company I work with just went through their yearly update, and they showed on a graph. I'll see if I can find the information, but it was really greatly summarized that the healthcare costs in the last 5 years have gone up 22%. Okay. Did you get a 22% raise? No. So okay, it doesn't. None of that even makes sense. It's not inflation. It's like, did you get a better service? Why did the cost of everything go up? Now back to the wage component. So it's costing your company more money. Because it's costing your company more money, your company is actually paying more to employ you, which leaves it less money to give you a raise. So then when you're like, well, my company doesn't give me a raise in 3 years. Yeah, part of that's because your healthcare took your raise. Okay, they took that and another 3% and just laughed their way all the way to the bank. So back to that original, when you have a scenario where somebody else is paying your bills, that is extremely volatile and extremely dangerous, because you've broken the chain of like reciprocal, what's the word I'm looking for? Consequences, responsibility. You are no longer responsible for the cost when you need to go to a doctor. So you no longer, for you, it's just what we do, okay? Then because you just accept it, the doctor has way less competitive pressure to create a great product, to create a great experience for you. Instead, they want you to come back 12 times so they can, on the 12th time, schedule your surgery. Remember, that's counting the PT as one visit, which was actually 12. Huh? Nuts. Okay, so then let's take, so that dynamic, somebody else paying your bills, no, it does not work. You don't see the cost, so you're like, it was free or $20, which is wrong. They don't care about your costs, so they give too much money to the hospital and they charge your company too much because they can. There's no check and balance system. You've destroyed it, okay? Then the hospital, they charge whatever they want. That's an exaggeration, but there's no competitive negotiation. It's literally market manipulation between the insurance company and the hospital. Now, when you look around, do you think any of these hospitals, here where I am, there's 2 big hospitals and they're taking over everything. First off, they're the ones that, a university, so that they can claim nonprofit. And to be honest with you, most hospitals qualify as some version of nonprofit. And then, to exploit that, they're just buying up everything because they've got to get rid of all their profit. Like, what? Huh? You're making so much money that you just bought like half the East Coast? Why are you making so much money off your, because you're in collusion with the insurance companies. Okay. So one last component, and then I want to talk a little bit deeper. So in this whole thing, Adam Conover does a great one. Adam Ruins Everything. And I'm not saying I agree with everything, but I think he does some neat little shows. And he does one on the healthcare system. I think it's called The Little Black Book or something like that, where they have this actual cost, statement of like what something really costs and then what they're going to charge for it. And basically, it's that agreement that, okay, insulin costs us 37 cents for a vial. We're going to say that it costs, or we're going to charge $187 for it. and then you're going to negotiate it down to $87 so that you're going to get paid because you negotiated great, and then we're going to get paid because we charged $87 for 37 cents worth of things, and everybody's happy. No, that's wrong. The consumer is not happy at all, and our healthcare system is garbage. Not necessarily the system, but the insurance component of it is absolute garbage. And what everyone should be really concerned about, here's a little fear mongering, is where are we going to be 5 years from now? So at a 22% increase over the last 5 years, if we continue on that trajectory, okay, about 80% of your employee benefit package is going to be healthcare cost coverage, and they're going to continue to get worse. Sorry, a little tangent, but it's relevant to the story I'm telling. Is think about probably at least 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, there was, you had a copay, that was it, and there was no, a deductible wasn't a thing. There was no deductible. Okay, you just went and paid your copay, $20, whatever, and then you didn't have to create this term, maximum out-of-pocket expense. Why? Because the fact that, your insurance coverage just paid it. So they're not giving you better service. They're just paying less money, okay, and keeping more of it for themselves. You want an interesting little tidbit of information, look up how much is owned by the insurance companies, okay? And that, it's broad scale because it's about all insurance. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper and let's look at the actual experience that I have or I observe when I go to a doctor's. First I come in, and in general, there's not good customer service, okay? Then when I do get called up eventually, I don't know, I think the whole thing is just insane. Like, you have all of my information in your computer. I look at it. If I see your screen, I see what you're looking at. And then you hand me a pile of papers and ask me to fill out the information that you have in your system. I honestly think it's just busy work, so you don't realize how long you're waiting. So then you sit down and maybe you sit for 10 minutes, okay, which I don't think is too unreasonable. But I do think it's funny that when the doctor can't see you on time, they just ignore it. Like, this is just a price of doing business. Yeah, if you were 10 minutes late, is that how they would handle it? No. I actually saw this little grading thing. I looked over, and they have a grade. Like, they grade you as a patient on how many appointments you've blown off. Huh. Well, man, that'd be neat if it was a two-way street, wouldn't it? All right, so here's another story. On this shoulder, I go in and I go, yeah, I'm here to have my shoulder looked at. And the nurse goes, oh, you're here for your left shoulder? And I go, no. And she goes, what do you mean no? Do you need me to say it a different way? No, that's not why I'm here. And she continues to read. She goes, oh, it says had problems with left shoulder, here for right shoulder. Oh, okay. And then she said something, and she, follow up. So you're here for your right shoulder. And I'm like, ma'am, is there somebody else that can work with me? Because I don't think you know how to read. And I don't want to work with somebody that doesn't know how to read. And I'm not trying to be rude, but we've had a 30-second exchange, and you've proven to me that you didn't read literally the 2 sentences in my chart of why I'm here. Like, you just read the first sentence, first couple words, and said left shoulder. And I get it, it's a mistake. I'm not trying to, but like, in the factual analysis of our exchange, you have just proven to me that you didn't read why I'm here. When you did read it, you were like, oh, I was wrong. So if you just would have read it, which seems like that's the whole point of your job, is to read what my doctor said, and then, so nuts. Okay. So then we go on, and a nurse comes and walks me to a scale. I could get on a scale. I could record all that. Actually, it's all computerized. The computer could just, you type in a code, and it could just send it to my file through Wi-Fi. Then I go to the room. They put on this little animated computer cuff, and it goes, doo, 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 and it gets my blood pressure and all that. Once again, doctor wasn't really needed. If you've ever seen those little walk things in the mall where you just sit down and it gives you your blood pressure and your BP, like, the nurse didn't need to be there. Okay, and I'm not trying to dissuade the value of our healthcare employees. It's more the system is creating all these fake placeholders to absorb money, to create fake costs. so they can charge more for their services and hide more of the profits. And okay, so the doctor comes in, and obviously, I think they're knowledgeable. I hope there's not a lot of salesmanship in there, but I definitely could see that. Or like, if you're an ortho doctor, I want to push surgery because that's how I get paid. I hope that's not happening. I kind of feel like we're not that bad yet. But if money is all that matters, okay, and that is what you're going to hear since the early 80s, is that it's all about maximizing shareholder value, okay, then they would absolutely sell you on the surgery, period, whether it's the right thing for you or not. And I will say I'm completely not happy with the exchange of information. What I want is, the pros and the cons so I can make an informed decision. Partially through the insurance, and this is a second component, but like, lawsuits and all that, people suing for, so they can't even tell you that, or they say they can't tell you that stuff. They can't give you their opinion because they don't want to get sued. Well, that's ridiculous. First off, those lawsuits should never stick. But more importantly, that is legitimately why I'm here, because you have expertise in this that I don't have. Okay? All right, so think through some of your own experiences. I don't know, I'm going for PT right now for my knee, and actually it's working very well. But I still, like, half this stuff could be done from home. We're going to the way of like YouTube PT. that's horrible, man. And then of course, back full circle to the money. 13 episodes and appointments just to get to surgery. Okay? Wonder why our healthcare costs are so expensive, so high. And by the way, the real way to do it would be something like a mass market leverage, like almost like a credit union, would be to come together, pool resources, use that leverage in the market, like AAA does this, AARP does this. That would be a way better way to approach like the healthcare solution, where you're a member of the team, not the team is just trying to figure a way to exploit all the loopholes and all the things in the system to become bazillionaires. Because if you think insurance companies aren't rich, you haven't been paying attention. If you think hospitals aren't rich, you haven't been paying attention. Okay? They've got money that they don't even know what to do with. I got a friend here, we'll leave names out of it, but you got a 2-year degree, gets you getting paid, $44 an hour. There's obviously some risks, but plus COVID bonuses and overtime, and it's like, okay, $44 an hour? Like, what? What are you doing with a 2-year degree that is worth $44 an hour? Well, guess what? We know, because we've all been to the doctor, right? Oh, you're asking me to stand on a scale? Oh, you're putting an automated cuff around my arm? I could have done that. Here, pay me $44 an hour. Here, I'm here for an hour. Give me $44 to come see you. like I know it sounds funny, but it's not. And the whole thing is just a failure. And the real hard part is, where are we going to be, 5 years from now? One other little thing on the money side. There's this component where, with now the introduction of the deductible, let's say your deductible is, because the higher the deductible is, the lower your monthly cost, okay? That makes sense. Hopefully you guys are familiar with that through other mediums. So now all of a sudden you go, let's say your deductible is $1,500. Let's say you only use $1,200 of that, okay? So your insurance hasn't really paid much because you've been paying it. Then why did you pay them $500 a month or whatever? That's usually about the ballpark of what gets withheld. You actually just embezzled me for $500 a month because you didn't actually give me a service. Okay? The $1,200 I spent was out of my pocket because I didn't meet my deductible. It's all nuts. And the fact that the hospitals, this is another big component of the problem. They are just aligning with the insurance companies because they make more money. It's not right for the patient at all, but they make more money. Who cares about the customer? Who cares about the patient? You know, and you could honestly say in that scenario that the insurance company is the customer, because that's who's paying them the money. You know, kind of delved through a lot, but I think where we're going is really, really dangerous from a cost standpoint, and none of it makes sense. It's completely moronic. So let me know your thoughts. Chime in below. I know this was a long one, but you know, it was a good story. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. You know, chime in with your own stories, you know, even if it's a positive one, because I think a lot of the people in the healthcare system get into it for the right reasons. They want to help people, they care about people, they want to take care of you, and then just you know, for 10 years somebody tells you, well, that's not how we do it. You know, we got to trick them into, you know, they don't use the word trick, but we got to get them to the surgery so that we can get paid, so that we stay open. You know, the next thing you know, you're just like, it's the cost of doing business, and it's like, can we do better, right? And I hope the answer is yes. I can think of a million different ways to get a better service and a better product. And none of this in this 3-component scenario makes any sense. So thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate if you made it to the end of this one. It was one of my longer ones. So maybe we can unite and stop stacking stupid. So remember to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you again in 2 weeks.